Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready to dive into another career deep dive today?
I'm ready.
All right. Today we're going to be tackling medical administrative assistants using info from RoleCatcher's career guide and their website. So get ready to go beyond the surface level on this one, because I have a feeling, just from looking at the research for today, that there's a lot more to this career than meets the eye.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. When I first got the research together for today's deep dive, I thought, oh, medical administrative assistant, we've all seen them, right? But I was surprised at the depth. It's way more interesting than it might seem at first glance.
Exactly. And you might think it's all filing and phones,
Yeah.
but RoleCatcher really digs into like the real heart of what a medical administrative assistant does, and it's so much more than that. Like they call it being the backbone of a healthcare office, which I think is a great way to put it because, you're the one who's keeping everything running smoothly. You're working directly with like the healthcare professionals, the patients, just keeping everything moving.
Yeah.
Um,
And that takes a really unique set of skills when you think about it.
it does. And that's something RoleCatcher highlights really well, like the variety of tasks you could be doing. So it's not just like you said, answering phones and scheduling appointments.
Right.
They talk about assisting with patient exams,
Whoa, really?
managing crazy medical schedules, even training other staff as you gain experience. Like there's actual room for growth in this role, which I think is something that people might not realize.
And that's what I think is so cool about this. It's not just a job, it's like a career path. They actually give examples, RoleCatcher does, of what a medical administrative assistant might say at different levels in their career, right? And I thought that was so helpful because it gives you a sense of where you can go. So like an entry-level assistant might be all about, being that organized voice on the phone, scheduling appointments, answering patient questions, kind of what we all think of, right? But then you look at someone who's been in the role a bit longer, maybe a junior medical administrative assistant, and they might talk about assisting with exams, maybe even putting together medical reports, which is like, that's hands-on stuff.
Wow, yeah, you're really getting in there.
Yeah.
And for someone who wants to keep moving up, they even have a senior medical administrative assistant profile.
Yeah.
And that, to me, sounds like, the conductor of the orchestra. Like you're overseeing all the daily operations. You're collaborating with doctors and nurses on strategies. Maybe you're even involved in budgeting. It's like a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a career trajectory. That's amazing. And you know what's cool is that because of all these different levels of responsibility, it really shows how important it is to have both hard skills and soft skills.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's one thing to know medical terms and maybe billing codes and all that, but you also have to be good with people.
Oh, my gosh.
You have to be able to handle those stressful situations, those demanding patients, and do it all with a smile.
Totally. Like you can't teach someone to be patient.
Right.
You can't teach someone to be diplomatic, especially in like a high-stress environment.
Exactly. And let's be real, healthcare is a high-stress environment. People are coming in, they might be worried about their health, they could be in pain, they could have just gotten bad news, and you are often the first person that they encounter.
The first impression, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to
Yeah.
be that calming presence. You have to be that friendly face. You have to make them feel at ease. That's a lot of pressure.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. So we've established this isn't your average desk job. There's real opportunity. Job market look for medical administrative assistants, because RoleCatcher is calling it a booming field, but I feel like we hear that word a lot, so I'm curious to dig into that a little bit more.
Okay, so let's unpack that word booming, because I think you're right. We hear it a lot. We hear it about a lot of different careers, and sometimes, it can just be a temporary thing. Like there's a surge in demand, and then it kind of levels out. But with medical administrative assistants, RoleCatcher connects it to something much larger, which is like these big trends that we're seeing in healthcare. And the first one is pretty obvious: the aging population. As more and more people need healthcare services, it just stands to reason that you're gonna need more administrative staff to support all of that.
That makes sense. So it's not just about, an older population.
No, it's not just about that. It's also about the fact that, we're seeing a big shift towards preventative care. So it's not just about treating people when they're sick, but about keeping them healthy in the first place.
Right.
What does that mean?
More checkups.
Exactly. More screenings, more demand for healthcare services across the board.
So you need more people on the administrative side to handle all of that. Okay, so we're talking about like long-term job security here, which I know is important to a lot of our listeners.
Yeah.
It's a huge plus in any field, but especially one that's evolving as rapidly as healthcare, right?
Absolutely.
Because who knows what the future holds, but
That's true.
it seems like there's going to be a need for this role for a long time to come. And speaking of classes, let's talk about the earning potential, because of course that's important. RoleCatcher gives a salary range of $30,000 to $45,000 per year for medical administrative assistants. So in your experience, does that sound accurate? Is there room to grow beyond that?
So I'd say that's a very solid starting point, especially, if you're new to the field. But yes, absolutely, there's room to grow. Experience is always a factor, right? The more experience you have, the more you can command. But RoleCatcher also talks about the impact of certifications. So, becoming a certified medical administrative assistant, a CMAA, or a certified electronic health records specialist, which is a mouthful, sometimes called a CEHRS, those kinds of things can really boost your earning potential.
So it's not just about like putting in the time. You can actually invest in your skills and potentially increase your salary faster. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. And it kind of speaks to the fact that, again, this isn't just a job, it's a career path,
It is.
Like, you can move up, you can specialize, you can really make a name for yourself in this field if you're willing to put in the work.
I love that.
I do too.
So we've talked about the skills needed, the job market, but let's circle back to the kind of the human element of this role, because, RoleCatcher keeps mentioning this idea of interacting with patients.
Yeah.
And we talked about how important empathy and adaptability are, but what's it actually like to be on the front lines of healthcare? What are some of the things that like make a medical administrative assistant truly great at that patient interaction piece?
I was thinking about that, and I think it really boils down to going beyond just being, pleasant and polite. It's about really being present and attentive when you're interacting with a patient. Imagine you're that patient, right? You're not feeling well, you're worried, you might be in pain. You walk up to the desk, and the medical administrative assistant, they make eye contact with you, they really listen to your concerns, maybe even just offer a reassuring smile, Like, that can make a world of difference.
Oh, absolutely. It's about creating that sense of ease and trust from the moment someone walks in the door.
Exactly. And it's not just about that initial greeting, It's about clear communication throughout their entire visit, explaining things in a way that they can understand because, let's be real, medical stuff can be confusing.
Oh, for sure.
It can be really intimidating, so being able to put people at ease with your words and your demeanor, that's a huge part of this role.
It's almost like you're like a translator in a way.
Yeah.
You're translating this like sometimes very complex medical jargon into something that a patient can actually understand and feel empowered by, which I think is really important.
Yeah, it's all about empowerment. It's about making sure that the patient feels heard, that they understand what's happening, and that they feel comfortable asking questions.
And being patient with people too.
Yeah.
Because like you said, they could be having a really bad day. This could be a really stressful situation for them. So having that compassion, I think, is absolutely key.
Couldn't agree more. It makes me think about a time when, actually, we were talking about RoleCatcher and their website. They don't just talk about the job description. They actually give you tips and resources for how to be successful in this role.
Well, that's awesome. I didn't realize they did that.
Yeah, like they get into the nitty-gritty of, how to create a standout resume, how to prepare for an interview. They even have this really cool feature called Copilot AI. It's like having a career coach in your back pocket.
Whoa! Tell me more about that.
So it's a paid upgrade, but basically it uses AI to analyze your resume, your skills, your experience, and it gives you personalized feedback and suggestions for improvement. Like, it can help you identify the keywords that are going to make your resume stand out to recruiters. It can suggest jobs that you might be a good fit for that you might not have even thought of.
That's amazing. So they're like really trying to set you up for success.
Exactly. And even if you're not ready to, shell out for the paid features, their free resources are still super valuable. Like, they have tons of articles and templates and checklists, all designed to help you navigate the job search process.
I love that because it can be such an overwhelming process, especially in a field like healthcare where it's so competitive.
Oh, tell me about it.
So having a resource like RoleCatcher that can guide you through it, give you those insider tips, that's got to be huge.
Absolutely. And I know it's not just about getting the job, it's about thriving in the role once you have it. And one of the things that RoleCatcher really emphasizes is the importance of ongoing learning and development.
Which makes sense because
Okay.
healthcare is always changing. Right?
Constantly. New technologies, new procedures, new regulations. It's like you can never stop learning in this field.
Which can be exciting.
It is.
It keeps things interesting. But I imagine it can also be a little daunting,
Yeah.
especially if you're someone who, like, likes to feel like they have everything figured out.
Right. You got to be comfortable with being a little bit uncomfortable, embracing that growth mindset.
I love that.
Me too.
So it sounds like for someone who's listening who's maybe intrigued by this career path,
Hmm.
it's not just about like being organized and good with people, which are obviously important qualities, but you also have to be someone who's adaptable, who's a lifelong learner, who's not afraid of a challenge.
100%. And you know what else? Let's talk about those challenges for a second,
Yeah.
because it's not all sunshine and roses, right?
Yeah.
Like any job, being a medical administrative assistant has its tough moments.
Oh, for sure. Like what kinds of things?
Yes.
Well, we've talked about this a little bit already, but dealing with stressful situations can be a big one. You're going to encounter people who are upset, frustrated, maybe even angry, and you have to be prepared to handle those situations with grace and professionalism.
It's the nature of healthcare, right?
Yeah.
Emotions run high when it comes to our health and well-being. And as the medical administrative assistant, you're often that first line of defense.
Exactly. You're the one who has to kind of absorb some of that stress and still maintain a calm and reassuring demeanor.
Which takes a lot of strength and resilience.
Absolutely. It's not always easy.
It really does. It's not just about like having a thick skin. It's about having those coping mechanisms in place.
Yeah, and that's actually something that RoleCatcher talks about, which I thought was really cool. They have a whole section on their website about managing workplace stress, specifically for medical administrative assistants.
Oh, wow. So they're really trying to support you on like a holistic level, not just like get you the job and then you're on your own.
Exactly. They give you practical tips on things like setting boundaries, practicing mindfulness, even just like making sure that you're taking breaks throughout the day, because it's easy to get so caught up in taking care of everyone else that you forget to take care of yourself.
Oh, 100%. It's like the classic, put on your own oxygen mask first.
Exactly. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Okay, so we've covered so much ground today. We've talked about the surprising variety of tasks that a medical administrative assistant handles, the fact that the job market is booming. We've talked about hard skills, soft skills, even the challenges of dealing with stress and just like staying current in a fast-paced field. For someone who's listening who maybe didn't even really consider this as a career path before, but now they're kind of intrigued, what would you say is like the one key takeaway you want them to walk away with?
For me, it really boils down to this. Don't underestimate the impact of this role. Medical administrative assistants are often the unsung heroes of the healthcare system. They're the ones who make things run smoothly for the patients and for the healthcare providers. They're the friendly voice, they're the calming presence, they're the problem solvers. And in a world where healthcare is only becoming more complex and demanding, I think that's a really valuable position to be in.
I love that. It's not just about paperwork and appointments. It's about making a real difference in people's lives, and often on a very personal level. And for someone with the right skills, that compassion, that get-it-done attitude, it sounds like a really fulfilling path.
It really does.
Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of medical administrative assistants. Hopefully you learned something new today, or maybe you just got a fresh perspective on a career path that you hadn't really considered before. But either way, we hope this has given you something to think about. And if you're hungry for more insights and resources, because we really just scratched the surface today, be sure to check out RoleCatcher's website. Their career guides are amazing. They go into so much depth. It's a treasure trove of information, whether you're starting your journey or you're looking to, level up your skills.
Definitely check it out.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.